Hey, my friend, welcome to the Art of Online Business podcast. My name is Rick Mulready, and I'm an online business coach. I'm an ads expert, and most importantly, I'm a dad. And this show is where we help established online course creators and coaches create more profit, more impact with less hustle. All right, let's get into it. All right, what's up, my friend? Welcome to episode number 638 here on the podcast. So seeing the number 638, I had this dream last night. So I've done close to, at this point, 700 episodes of podcasting. I've been podcasting now for 9 years. And I had this dream last night where I don't know who it was, but some guy was looking at the microphone here. And if you watch these episodes on the Art of Online Business YouTube channel, you see my mic setup and so forth. So anyway, he was looking at the angle of how I've had the microphone, and I've had this angle in the microphone for years and years. And he was like, "Oh no, you've been doing it wrong. It has to be like this." And I had this complete breakdown in my dream, mind you. These are the things I dream about. But he was like, "No, it's you have to be angling it like this." And I'm like, I've been doing it the other way for years now. My podcast is, like, people hate the audio. I had no idea. So yeah, those are my dreams right now. Good times. I don't know why I wanted to share that with you, but hey, it's top of mind right now as I recorded this early morning here. So my guest today, she's a returning guest, Judith Gaton, and she's a member of my Accelerator coaching program. And what I wanted to do with this interview here with Judith is share with you behind the scenes of bringing a brand new offer to light. And for about 2 months now, when I'm recording this, the middle of September, we have been talking about it. She came to me a couple months ago and said, "I'm thinking about this new offer." Now, whenever an existing business owner comes to me and starts off the conversation that way, I immediately have a red flag, because I want to make sure, why are we jumping to a new offer when the existing offer still has room to breathe, room to grow? And, and here we are about 2 months later, and she has created this amazing membership offer and already has a whole bunch of founding members in it. And so I'm going to take you right behind the scenes here in these conversations that I've had with Judith over the past few months about refining the offer, the messaging, who it's for, why people need to join the membership. And funnily enough, this is an idea that she's had for 7 years now. And, basically, as you're going to hear, apparently I was the first one to sort of like, let's go, let's do this, because I can see the kind of energy this offer gives you and how excited you are to bring it to the world, if you will. And so we talk about all that, the evolution of creating this offer. And then sort of 3/4 of the way through this interview here, we get into, okay, how are we going to validate it? What's the marketing plan look like? How are you going to launch this? What are the tactics? What are the tools, the strategy? How many people are you going to let in the founding member price? All that sort of thing. And so this is just really a wide, encompassing conversation around the evolution of this offer that, here's a hint, already, and it's only been open for 2 days now at the time recording this, already super, super successful. So fun conversation. Let's go hang out with Judith Gaton. So for those of you who are listening right now to this episode, you should see Judith on camera. So by the way, we record all these on video, and they're over on the Art of Online Business YouTube channel for the podcast here. And so everything's on video now. And if you could see Judith, if you're not watching, if you can see Judith right now, or if you could see Judith right now, you're glowing.
I'm geeking out over here. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So Judith's been on the show here before, and I'll have you reintroduce yourself for those people who have not heard that episode. But I want to talk about this new membership that you have created, and kind of out of thin air, if you will, but it's been percolating in your brain for a while.
A really long time. I actually found my original notes about this idea from 7
Yeah.
years ago.
For real? I didn't know that.
For real. And I think you were the first person, and this is a perfect case study. We can dive into all the details because you were the
Yeah.
first person I think that was like, "Oh, you should go do that." And I was like, "I'll go do that." You're like, "Yeah, go do that." And it was like, game on. I think
Yeah.
so many of us have these amazing ideas that are percolating for so long, and we just need like a mentor, someone to come alongside us and be like, "Yeah, you should go do that thing."
And I don't say that to everybody.
Which is good
And
to
I
know.
mean that from from the perspective of I could see you had it. So for a few reasons, like number one, you had it really, like you had the idea of it fleshed out, meaning you knew what you wanted to create, but just all the details and stuff you weren't quite sure, messaging, etc. But the biggest thing for me was you know your audience and your energy and excitement around this idea. I told you from day one, I said, this is going to be a massive success for that reason alone.
Yeah.
Because you light up when you talk about this offer.
Oh, like, and I get chills. And like yesterday, we had our first welcome call within the membership. We just did like a welcome. How do you do? Here,
Oh, you did?
yeah, here's like the foundation principles of what we're going to be doing here. And
Yeah.
I got choked. I get a big crybaby in front of my audience, and they know it. I totally choked up. And then I was like, I got chills. I got chills. And then you could just see the chat box was like, me too. Me too. I'm so excited to be here. That's
So
everything.
good.
Yeah.
So good. Well, let's have you, before we dive into what this offer is, and no, I mean, like you all, like, I'm going to be learning a lot of stuff, updates from Judith literally on this call right now. We might get into some coaching. You know, she jumped on, she's like, I don't even know what we want to be talking about. And I said, I literally, as I do all interviews, I have a blank Google Doc in front of me here, and we're going to be chatting about your new offer, your new membership. Where that goes, let's dive into it.
Yeah.
So for those people who do not know who you are, the 2 or 3 people who do not know who you are, let's have you introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Judith Gaton. I am a master certified life coach and a personal stylist. I'm a former lawyer, an author, which sometimes I forget. I wrote a book, which is very fun. And I coach high achieving women. And I created a new offer, and I teach them 4 main things. Sort of the pillars of my program is we do style, we talk about generating wealth, we talk about leading with gumption. And gumption is an old-timey word that has so much amazing meaning. We could totally dive into it. And then the last component, which is I think the most important, which is leaving a legacy. Because the motto for like my big why underlying everything I do is that confident women leave legacies.
Confident women leave legacies.
Yeah.
I love it. So this is a brand new offer, still like a pilot, if you will, still in quote unquote beta. I don't love the word beta because it sounds like it's a piece of crap, you know, or it's like, come join this work in progress and it's not very good, but hey, I'm letting it out into the wild. I like the word pilot.
I think pilot works better. I think just soft launch like they use in the restaurant industry. I think,
Yeah.
I prefer that verbiage as well. And my personality is such that I would never launch something half-baked. So, I
Yeah.
mean, the level of meticulous crazy that has gone in has been really fun. And of course, I have like 5 million pages of notes of phases of things we'll be rolling out and improvements we'll be making. And we've been open softly for 2 days, which is just kind of fun to
for 2 days. Yeah. And we're recording this on Wednesday, September 14th right now. So what was your offer? What is your offer prior to this membership?
Yeah.
You have a coaching offer.
Yeah. So for 3 years, I did a high ticket 8-week program called Style Masterclass. And in Style Masterclass, we would come in and we literally walk you through a makeover process. So we'd help you get fitted in clothes that actually fit you. We teach you about fitting, get you bras and undies that fit, foundation garments, clean out your closet, define your personal style. And then we literally would shop for you and dress you and teach you how to shop for yourself and dress yourself. It happened. I mean, high energy 8 weeks, we don't play, but the transformation coming out of that would just be enormous. And I know everyone promises the moon and the stars, so obviously results not typical, but my clients are not typical. So we were getting women who had held off on, turning in their promotion paperwork and then finally doing it and then getting $40,000 raises. We had women who were like changing careers, like suddenly, but not suddenly. They were just giving themselves permission finally. Like all of
Mm,
these crazy, amazing transformations happened through style. Like we started there. But as always, as I was asking my clients in all of these amazing coaching conversations, is like, where else does this apply?
yeah.
Like this habit that you have with your style, like where else are you doing this? And then where else can we get you some transformation with this really simple style tool that I taught you? Like, how can we extrapolate that outward? And because my clients are who they are, they're like in. Once they're in, they're in. They're like lifers. I love it. They were kind of like, what's next? What's next?
Yeah.
What's next? What's next? And I had
And
different iterations, but I think this is the most succinct. What's next for them?
and you get these amazing results. It's an 8-week program. It's a quote higher ticket, but for what you actually do, it is so not high ticket.
Yes.
Because we talked about this a lot. Like you're like, I know I'm way undercharging.
Yeah.
And from a scalability standpoint, it was not at the level that you wanted it to be, but you kept hearing feedback from people and aligning with what you've been percolating on for 7 years now.
Yeah.
And so, and I love what you do. I've gotten your episode, by the way, I don't know if you know this or not, is one of the highest downloaded episodes this year
Oh, I had no idea.
on the podcast.
Oh, that's like
Yeah. And
happy news. I love that.
it's 8.5 months into the year.
Well, dear listener, I love you. Thank you.
And I'll link for those of you who have not heard the first episode that we did together, I'll link it up in the show notes over on my website. But we basically talked about, the effect that confidence has on growing your business and having a successful business, and how confidence leads to that. And then also what leads to the confidence, or what can lead to the confidence. And Judith broke all that down in that episode. So you came to me, what, 2 months ago?
Yeah, I think 2 months ago. Yeah.
Was like this summer. And you said, I have this idea. You said, I want to do this membership. And at first, and for everybody in Accelerator, they know this, I'm always skeptical. I'm like, wait, what are we trying to, is something not working over here? That's the first thing,
Yeah.
first thought I always have for most people. Is something not working over here, so that we're just going to shift gears and do shiny object over here? And 9 times out of 10, it's a membership that most people think of, because they're like, oh, reoccurring revenue. So once we got that out of the way and you started explaining it, it's for the same exact audience.
Mm-hmm.
that your audience, for the most part,
I think
that your audience
for the most part, yeah.
currently is. And you said, this is what I'm thinking. And again, the energy behind it and how you light up when you talk about it, I was like, all right, let's start talking about this.
Yeah. And I think I came to you with some other problem on a call, and you were like, okay, we could talk about that. Or would you like to talk about your membership? I was like, let's talk about the membership.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was in the doldrums that day. So it was like the perfect like little spark to get me going, is like talking about my people and how much I love them and all that I have in terms of ideas for like serving them all
Yep.
day. Then I'm like, let's go conquer shit.
And so, yeah, I remember that, exactly that call. You're like, I'm not having a great day. This is the challenge I'm coming to the call with. And I said, and knowing you the way that I do now, I'm like, do you want to talk about that, or do you want to talk about the membership? And you're like, ooh, let's talk about that. So what is the membership? What is the concept?
Yeah, so the concept, like, and I love, and I think you and I have talked about this extensively, like, I love to have like a really clear vision. And
Yeah.
I like to imagine kind of like, and maybe because I'm a huge, Trekkie nerd and sci-fi nerd, but like I world build in my own head, and like that's how I operate. And then I fill in the details. So for me, it was like I imagined this like beautiful brick private social club where women walk in the front door, and we have like a team of experts who are like, let's get you ready to get to the other floors. And we style you, we dress you, we get you feeling confident so that when you get to the next level where we talk about money and finances and like generating wealth on that second floor, like you feel adequately prepared to step into those rooms and have those kinds of dialogues. And then once we've gotten you like comfortable talking about money, having it, spending it, discussing it, learning about it, then we can take you into the next floor where we talk about leading with gumption, which is a three-part term really: initiative, determination, courage. Like how do you live a life from that place?
Hmm.
And then once you're like dressed in the way that you feel most comfortable and most confident, and you're generating wealth or at least having discussions or feeling like you've got that cemented down and you're leading with gumption, then we can talk about the ripple effect of you being you, which is the legacy component. So I had to envision that in my brain. It's like, that's what the membership is. Like we come in, we get you styled, we talk about style, and then everything we talk about in terms of the style component lends itself to these bigger conversations about the other areas of your life. And I wanted it to be concept driven because that's how my brain works, but I also want it to be really practical. So we have these big conversations, and it's like, okay, and here's the next step. Go do that thing. See what
Yep.
comes up for you. We'll coach on it, and then we'll talk about next steps so that we're moving sort of up that building, so to speak, in a way that actually makes sense. And we're not just selling you something that's not tangible and was kind of like snake oily, like, I don't what is the result of this? Like, what happens at the end of
Yeah.
this? Like, I want it to be
Yeah.
super concrete.
Well, and it's, can we share the name?
Yeah, yeah, Modern Charm School.
Modern Charm School. I love it. And you came with that right off the bat. Like you were like, this is what it's called.
Well, and
And I was like,
so that was the piece of paper from 7 years ago, had that name on it. And
yeah,
it's like there's a mind map of craziness around this like circled name, and I stalked the domain for years because the Modern Charm School was available, but Modern Charm School wasn't. So I stalked it, and whoever you are, I love you so much. You just let it go, and I'm so grateful because I snatched it up. So
so you have the
I
domain.
had the domain. It was like on my heart to create this.
Yeah.
And even when I wrote my book, the central theme of my book is to take outdated, outmoded concepts in a charm school setting and modernize them for modern women, and also acknowledging adversity and diversity,
Yep.
because typically when we think of charm school, we don't think of a number of things. It was a very homogenized look.
Yeah, sure.
And we're opening the doors in a very cool way.
I love it. And I want to point out that because I never heard the I'm picturing it. I'm a very visual person. So when you describe it that way of like you walk into a building and on floor number 1, it's this. Then you go to floor number 2. It's that kind of level of detail. For y'all listening, that is a huge lesson here. That when you have that kind of detailed vision for what an offer can be, that like there's very little stopping you from that being successful. And I'm not surprised to hear you say that, because in one of our very first conversations, we talked about like, what are some of your like long-term life goals? And you said, I want to own this house.
Yes.
It's a house that exists. And you described it to me in like minute detail. I was like, wow, that is very specific. And so you're doing the same with this program,
Yeah.
which I absolutely love. And it's just another reason why I told you, I said, this cannot fail, quote unquote, whatever fail
Yeah, and I
means.
and I kind of share with you some of the other phases that we have planned in the
Yeah.
future, and like even you were like, "Oh my," like the look on your face was so
Yeah.
exciting, and like we are feeding off each other's energy a little, because I'm like, this is what I envision for this phase, but when we reach a certain mass number, then we can open up the other phases, the other floors,
Yeah.
so to speak,
Yeah.
where we really can affect a ripple effect change. And we're not just talking about, and there's no diss to my fellow stylists. I love y'all, and I think those conversations need to be had, but I also am speaking to a crowd that was told Don't worry about being pretty. Don't worry about that style stuff. You're smart. Go worry about your career, get your degrees. Like they were poo-pooed and they were never
Yeah.
taught these things. So we're teaching them these things so that they can be comfortable going and doing all the other badass stuff that they're already involved in. So I wanted to have what I call elevated conversations about style. And again, and it's not a diss to my fellow stylists. It's just I knew that my particular audience was craving more, which is why I was able to world build something so specific for them. And then thinking about the greater impact of it over time. So, I mean, that drives everything now. Every decision now gets put through that filter.
And well, I want to talk about the progression of conversations that we started having. So from that first conversation, I said, do you remember what I asked you?
You told me to go write
About
an
it?
outline, I think.
Yeah. I said, so first of all, we're not going to sell this
Oh, yeah.
until you validated it. So don't go creating 12 months of content, or for you, don't go creating 5 years of content because you've got it, you know. Let's outline this first, and then we've got to validate this offer first.
Yes.
Because so again, this is another lesson for everybody listening right now. Like, Judith is adding this to her existing business. This is not like Judith's just starting out. Like, she's adding this membership to her existing business. And so it's a brand new offer. And so, like I've been talking about for years here in the podcast, we don't ever want to create something and then go sell it. We want to sell it first, validate the idea, get the feedback, and then, you know, and keep iterating from there. And so that was the first thing I said to you in that conversation. I said, amazing. Okay. What does this look like? Cause you were like, and I think it should be this. I think it should be this. I'm like, amazing. We've got that clarity. Now let's just get it down.
Yeah.
What is this? And then I said, what's the promise of this offer? And, you know, how are you going to deliver it? What does it look like? And so that was sort of like the first, you know, assignment, if you will, is let's go get this down. And what was that like for you? Getting all these things out of your head and written down into an outline of like, all right, I can kind of see it looking like this.
You know, my personality is such, I love outlines, and maybe it's like from law school days, I'm like, give me a good outline, right? So like 6 pages later, outline number 1. But to me, even writing it was like, oh, here's a hole you hadn't completely fleshed out. Oh,
Yep.
and here's another hole you hadn't completely fleshed out. So, I mean, I'm a dreamer. I know a lot of y'all on this call, or excuse me, a lot of you are listening are dreamers, but we have to bring it to the concrete level. And I think for me, the balance is, and I think some of your listeners might find this too, is continuing to allow myself to dream and not downgrade my dream to what I think current possibility is. And raising what I allow myself to make possible, to let that rise up to the level of my dream. Now, my tastes are always going to be higher than my ability to execute. I think that's the human existence. Like, my
Sure.
tastes are high, my ability to execute is fairly low, and we have to meet them in the middle. But don't cut off the dreaming so like too early to get to the execution point, which is something I often do, and then I feel blue about my dream that I was excited about 10 seconds ago. So
Yeah.
I downloaded everything into the outline, but let the outline live. So I think we went through 4 drafts of the outline before we've got to actual execution. And I didn't like, oh, it's one and done. This is the only iteration ever. Right. And I now have in my heart and my mind, okay, phase 1 looks like this, phase 2, phase 3 in the future could look like whatever the hell we want it to look like. But I think there's a balance there that I often have to remind myself of. So I'm assuming some other listeners probably very similar to myself.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really important point that is like, you did this email or did this outline. I mean, you brain dumped it essentially, and it wasn't like, okay, I'm done. It's a back and forth. So like, this is another powerful reason for y'all listening. Like, if you don't have an outside set of eyes on your business, on your work, on whatever it is that you're doing, you're missing a big perspective, because we, including myself, right? I have a coach. Like, we are so close to our own stuff that, you know, we miss out on some things. And so that was what it was. I mean, I think for the next 3 weeks or something like that, we went back and forth on, your outline, and it was like, I was questioning certain things, like, okay, let's get deeper on this. Wait, we're missing this part over here, and went back and forth. And then you had the outline of like, okay, this is what, at least for the first iteration
Yeah.
of the first, validating the offer. And it was really good. And I think that, again, it goes back to, this is something that's been on your mind for a while. And like, now it's coming to fruition. And I could see, I want to ask you this, and I want to put you on the spot on this. I could see your excitement. I think this is a central theme throughout this whole conversation and around this whole offer, about how much it aligns with you.
Yeah.
And so I told you, again, going back to what I said earlier, I told you, like, this is not going to fail, right? Did you think the same thing, honestly? Or do you think the same thing?
It ebbs and flows. I'll be totally honest. I have moments where I'm like, we cooking, oh my gosh. Like after the first call yesterday, I was just like, oh man, like it's gonna be so good. And total excitement, like, and then, the ideas come like fast and quick, and like, which can be some kind of burdensome sometimes. So like, I felt the energy of that. And then like a human, I woke up this morning full of dread, and I was just like, oh, I hope I don't fuck it up. Like, I have right now, these women who've entrusted, their beautiful, big, bodacious dreams to me, and I want to honor that, and I want to serve them well. And I believe like leading, like servant leadership is my heart. And like, I believe in redemptive business. So like, I'm like, oh, wow. Like, I don't take this lightly, what I've been entrusted with. So that's, I think, where the like, the heavy part of it comes in. Well, also the excitement. Yes, I'm absolutely excited. But the reality is, the way my brain is, I feel a little bit of the weight of responsibility of caring for them well and serving them well. You can't just throw together a membership, I think. Why would you?
Right, which is exactly why we've gone back and forth for the past 6 weeks, refining this offer. Like getting super clear on who it's for, the messaging, the promise, what's going to be in there. But I don't mean what's going to be in there like, okay, month number 1 is this training. It's the bigger vision of what this membership is and it's going to be. So I just wanted to jump in here for a minute and sort of recap the big takeaways from the first part of my conversation here with Judith. And I wanted to do this because I'd love for you to really take action on what you're learning here on the podcast in your own business. And I think that the big theme of the first part of my conversation here with her is, this is going to, you really want to take the time to flesh out what this offer is going to be. And make sure that you're creating a new offer for the right reasons, right? One of the big red flags that comes up for me is when people come to me and they say, all right, I'm thinking about creating a new offer. And they already have an established online business. And my brain immediately goes to, well, wait a minute. Why aren't we focusing on your original offer here? Are you trying to compensate with a new offer like shiny object? And 9 times out of 10, it's a membership for people, because people think, oh, recurring revenue, right? Which it is. But make sure, number 1, that you're creating an offer for the right reasons, a new offer. Number 2, really take the time to flesh out that offer, right? As you heard, Judith did just a complete brain dump of what she was thinking about for this offer. And then she and I went back and forth for a good solid 7 weeks or so, really refining what the offer was, the messaging, who it's for, the promise. I encouraged her, as you heard, to go interview. She interviewed 5 of her existing or past customers, and they were super informational gathering conversations, right? And then she gets to use that language from those conversations directly in the messaging for this new offer. Right. And she picked people, by the way, not to state the obvious, but that are perfect for this new offer that she has, currently or either currently or in the past worked with. And so that's a huge, everyone's always like, well, I don't know what copy to, I don't know how to write copy, or I don't know what to say. Speak to your people and use the language that they use. And the other big takeaway here from the first part is have an outside set of eyes working with you on your messaging, your offer, your business. If you're looking for a coach, or if you have a coach, ask them. If you don't have a coach and you're like, no, I just want to get somebody else to look at your stuff, to poke holes in it, to ask you questions, to, challenge you on things, because that's where the real gold comes from. We are often so close to our own stuff that we miss it. And that's where the outside set of eyes can really come in handy. And that's exactly what Judith and I have been doing on this offer. And, I don't think I've ever worked with somebody who is more in line and energetic about their offer than Judith. And for that reason, as you heard me say to her, like, this is not going to quote fail. There's no chance for it. And as you're going to hear later in coming up in the interview, she's already off to an amazing start, and the founding member offer has only been available for 2 days at the time recording this. So coming up in the second half here, as you're going to hear, is we get into how is she going to validate the offer? What's the launch plan? How is she going to treat teasing this offer? I really encourage her to get out there and tease this offer on her podcast, on her email list, and her socials about this. Create demand for it. And then mapping out what the validation plan is between now and the rest of the year. And you're going to hear very tactical, strategic, everything coming up here in the second half of the interview. And if you'd like to coach with me, if you'd like to get my help on your business, 2 different ways to reach out. Go to my Accelerator coaching page, rickmulready.com/accelerator. You can read all about the program there, fill out it's just a few questions for the application, or you can just shoot me an email, rick@rickmulready.com. So, all right, let's dive back into it with Judith. So once we got clear on that, now let's get to, I think for so many people listening, the juicy stuff.
Yeah.
So once you get clear, then you started thinking about, you were started asking about, okay, how do I validate this? What are some ways to validate this? And we talked about timing. Do you remember where I'm going with this? We talked about timing, and there was a huge miscommunication on the timing part.
Totally.
Because here we are in, I think it was early August or something like that. And I thought we landed on, okay, you're going to start gaining, teasing this, and you're going to launch it, starting to validate in December. Or maybe it was November, but official quote unquote launch in December.
I think and I heard something totally different, y'all. So what I heard on this end was, let's start validating the offer. And I had 3 workshop ideas already sort of in the back of my mind. So I had shared the workshop ideas with Rick, and I heard, and maybe this is so funny, right? I heard him say, and I'm putting this in air quotes if y'all can't see, I heard him to say, let's start validating the offer with the first workshop in September. And then, we'll my idea was soft launch, open the doors through December, and then we'll close the doors in December, and then we'll see what happens, how many members we have obtained and how we can care for them and all those things. We totally got our wires crossed. So I was like, let's go, let's roll.
Yeah. You went to town.
Yeah.
And it was I don't know, the end of August or something. And you're like, oh no, workshop number 1 is what's
September
first
24th,
workshop?
Yeah.
Except I was like, wait, is this are we beginning to validate this or on this? Yeah. You're like, I'm all ready. Let's go. I'm like, okay, not what I was expecting, but game on.
Yeah. I think I had told you, I was like, oh, I have a wait list of 14 people. We're going.
Yeah. Which I love. So it is 3 workshops.
And 3 workshops to help make sure.
So describe what you're doing with that
Yeah, so
for
we're teaching
everybody
kind of
to validate
Yeah,
this?
so we're teaching kind of different components of the whole idea of modern trend school. So we're starting with a fall trends workshop. And yes, obviously we styles our first floor, right? But the beautiful thing about teaching something like this is we get to teach rule breaking. This is a fun, like I love my job. I love my clients. So we get to talk about all the, oh, I can curse here. Yes. Okay. Bullshit that you get in
Yeah.
these trend reports, right? So I love to do research. I have a bibliography of everything I've looked at. So I went to 20 different fashion, like main fashion names, magazines, all the things. And I synthesized their quote unquote trends list for fall. Every single one of them is different. They describe the same thing very differently. So
Interesting.
we give this information to women and we're like, oh, this is how you become fashionable and wealthy and everything and blah, blah, blah. We tell them the story. But we tell them 20 different messages, right? And then we're like, and this is the must have. These are not suggestions. These are must haves. And
Yeah.
like the crazy enormous pressure, like the pressure to look a particular way, to be into a particular thing, to have the wealth to pull off the quote unquote must have list, that's daunting. So we're going to teach the trends and we're going to talk about how to transition your wardrobe from summer to fall because we keep things very practical, while also teaching the greater concept of all of this shit's made up and you totally get to decide what's right for you and for your life and your personal style and how you want to show up in the world. And like, that's how we're kicking things off. That's our first workshop.
So, okay, another huge lesson here of what Judith is doing. It's topical, it's timely, and you are pointing out what's going on in the industry and how it's like, I mean, what would you call it? Just
Fuckery. I would call it fuckery. Just kidding. No, I think it's just mixed messaging. Like everyone has something to
yeah,
sell, right? So these magazines have partnered with different brands. They have
yeah,
favoritism amongst brands that they promote more heavily, different fashion shows where they may have been in the front row seat versus the back row seat, and therefore they're going to give more attention to blah, blah, blah trend.
yeah.
Like there's so much politicking that happens behind the scenes. And I think by the time it gets to a woman who's browsing the internet in the middle of the night about this fall advertisement that she got, like, how does she make sense of any of this, right? So
Yeah.
it's a lot of what my job is like giving permission slips to humans, demystifying nonsense so they can decide for themselves. So it's a bit of fuckery, politicking. There's finances involved, there's advertising and marketing involved. And I also think that there's just one person's preference, which has been given a
Yeah.
pedestal over all others.
So you're taking the opportunity that you have as the expert that you are in this and sharing it with your people. Both, this is what is going to be in the membership, but now you're using, I don't mean, that sounds kind of weird, but you were sharing this on your first workshop at the end of September, inviting people. It's free, right? It's a free workshop.
Yep. The replay
Yeah.
will be available to members, but everyone's welcome to come to the workshop and get all the
Yeah.
goodness.
Free workshop. And then at the workshop, you're unveiling, if you will, introducing Modern Charm School.
Yep.
And the special offer, you're taking the first, well, how many people now are you going to be taking?
Yeah. So we'll cap, I mean, there'll be founding members up to 100 founding members.
Yep.
And then once there are no more seats, the 100 seats are filled, then the price goes up. But the curtain doesn't fall. We won't be closed until we have a number in our hearts and minds that we know we could serve well before we'd have to hire more staff to support us in fulfillment.
And you opened you've been teasing it. So that's part of the other coaching that we talked about. So basically we outlined once we were both on the same page as far as when this is happening. So the sort of the marketing plan, if you will, to validate this offer was, okay, 3 workshops, September, October, November. And then prior to the workshop in September, a couple weeks before, start teasing this offer to your email list, on your podcast, letting them know, hey, I'm so excited about this. This is what's coming. And at the day that we're recording this, you just opened up the opportunity for people to become a founding member.
Yes.
So we are what, 48 hours in?
Yeah, 48 hours, give or take. Yeah.
And how many people, how many founding members do you have so far?
We have 44.
You have 44.
Yeah.
And when we first talked about it, you were like, I would be super happy with 100 founding members. You haven't even had your first workshop yet.
No, I hadn't had
and
the
you're
first
halfway
workshop
there.
yet. It was just like the possibility of that seemed so amazing.
Yeah.
And that's pretty around the corner now, which is so insane and amazing and fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to have those, like, you're going to have them filled really, really quickly. Now, what's one thing that, like, you were telling me before we hit record, you had a welcome call yesterday, and what are you hearing from people?
I mean, they're just
around this program?
Yeah, they're really, really excited. I was kind of telling you, I had a teaser, another teaser email that went out, and I had a new member, and she's been on my list forever. We've chatted via email for a long time, but she wrote me an email. Shout out to Miss S. If you're listening to this, she wrote me an email. She's like, if you send me another teaser email, I'm going to take it to the streets. Like, I'm ready, boo. Send me the damn link. And I was just like, oh, they ready.
Yeah.
They're ready. When I thought, like, I know I'd been craving something like this, and I knew some of them because I had, just like you had given me advice, and we hadn't talked about this. You told me to poll like at least 5 of my past students to find out what they would want, what they would enjoy, so we went and did that work, and we took their exact words and we really listened to them. So I knew my five lovies were all in, but I had not imagined that. I mean, so many women are craving this, and they're telling their friends. So we have little groups of friends inside that are excited to spend time with each other in that container because they were craving this. They wanted this, which is very amazing.
Yeah. And you're introducing people, that was one thing that came out in our back and forth was that, hey, not only is this a community of like-minded people with different lived experiences and so forth, but this is a huge, and I hate to use this word, networking, quote unquote, community where you get to meet people in different industries doing different things. And that's a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
And you knew that, I think, when I mentioned it, you were like, oh yeah, I forgot to like include that aspect into the messaging here. And I think you're already seeing that.
It's already coming to fruition. And part of phase 2, what we've planned is we're going to have special calls, like called Come to the Table. That's a to be decided name, but we're going to call it that for now. And really, it's women who can come to a networking table, but not with the purpose of selling anything. It's like, I need someone who does this. We're looking for this. We're seeing this hole. How has someone worked on this? And being able to, like, it's like a problem solving table where maybe you have human capital or you have knowledge capital that we can all leverage to help this member solve their particular problem. And some people may not want to participate in those calls, but I dare say I have a feeling a lot of them are going to want to participate in those calls just to leverage each other's knowledge and information.
I also think too, and we actually haven't talked about this, but I've been thinking a lot about this, is that the type of membership that you are creating and the person that this membership is for, your stick rate, if you will, is going to be huge. Like, this isn't going to be a community where people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to come in for a month and peace out. Like, they're going to be in there. They're going to stay because of what you are creating.
Yeah, I think so. And I want to say at least half of the members who coming is one of the questions we asked them when they've come into the Facebook group was like, why are you here? Which I think is such a great question to ask, so we can make sure we're delivering why they're there. And a resounding component of this has been the legacy component, because no one else is talking about it in that way, at least not with style as the lead in. So I'm here to legacy build. I'm here because I'm curious about what that means. Like, that is going to be a part of the longevity piece, because I think anyone can sell you an idea of a transformation, right? with
Yeah.
the idea that the transformation you're undergoing is going to affect the generation that comes after you and potentially the generation that comes after you. To me, that's so much more compelling of a why to do anything.
Yeah. 100%.
So, I mean, I lead from that way. I come from a matriarchy that leads that way. So maybe it just came in the water when I was a baby, but that's a huge component of why. And I think that really is just at the heart of a lot of the women I serve as well.
So now that you're getting that information, what do you do with it? Do a little coaching here.
Yeah, so there's a few things that I'm thinking of. So we do have I already went into January. I couldn't help myself. So in January, we have something amazing planned.
Of course you
Yeah,
did.
of course. So we're going to do a 2-day virtual event in January that is a beautiful mix of all of this information. And so we're going to have someone teach real estate investment 101. We're going to talk about diamonds 101 and how to invest in them as an heirloom or however you would like to use your diamonds. And we're going to talk about style stuff like makeup and how to wear false eyelashes. And then we're going to have someone who's going to come and teach us about how to stop people pleasing.
Mm.
Like, the ripple effect of that kind of knowledge in the
Yeah.
hands of really amazing women is kind
Yeah.
of delicious to think about. So, yes, we will always have a little flair and fabulous of the style component, but we're also going to talk about these things in a bigger way. So, for example, I wrote a book that I forget I wrote. This is so interesting called Get Your Shit Together. And it's literally a 30-day workbook that helps you have really difficult conversations in a fun way about legacy and money and death, because those things happen to us all. And
Yeah.
how do you have those conversations, right? So part of the components we're going to teach, as well as we're going to make sure the legacy pillar is addressed.
Yeah.
Like, if something happened to you, you got sick, would your loved ones know what to do? Do we know what bills we have
Yeah.
to pay? Which ones we can make arrangements on? Like,
Yeah.
I know so many single women who are kid-free by choice, but then who's going to take care of those things for them, right? Even if you have a spouse, your spouse may not be involved in your business, and then you need to handle the
Yeah.
stuff. So we're going to have those conversations, but in the sassy way that I have those conversations.
Yeah. So, and with the you really focusing on, and you're already doing it, right? But like they're telling you the legacy piece is a huge aspect for me and a big reason why I'm here.
Yeah.
So that tells you, okay, that's a big area I'm going to focus on
Yeah.
in my marketing, in my copy, in my whatever I'm talking about, obviously within the membership
Yeah. And here's the beautiful thing
itself.
about being a teacher within my own membership, right? I haven't farmed this out to other humans, not at a
Yeah.
mass scale yet. Like, I get to bring every conversation back to that. I get to
Yeah.
remind them of that every time I coach them on something or I give them a journal prompt. I get to remind them that there's a future version of them and then there's people who come after them. Like, how are we going to set all of those people up, including the future
Yeah.
versions of ourselves, up for success? How do we hook them up
Yeah.
by how we behave now?
I love it. So as we start to wind down here, for people my listeners love the tactical stuff. So how have you created this? Like what platform you're using? Since you're validating the offer, have you created anything?
Yeah, because I'm me. So some of you are like,
Yes.
let's go. So we are housed in Kajabi because that made the most sense
Yep.
for where we are. It didn't make sense
Sure.
to invest in like a $15,000 platform if we're quote
Thank
unquote
you for not doing
validating,
that.
although I think it's here
Yes.
to stay. Um, we make our graphics in Canva. We already had our brand colors chosen. Like, we're not over designing this at this point. We're
Yeah.
just making sure the content is really good and that the fulfillment is really easy and smooth and people know where things live and they have access to them. That's
Yeah.
number one concern right now in my heart. We're writing a beautiful nurture sequence once they're in the membership, not just for when they get on
Right.
our list, but once they're
Right.
inside. How do we let them know that they belong, that everything's okay, that they're not failing? I coach high achievers. They always think they're failing at something. I have to lovingly remind them all the time, right? But I know my people. So
Yeah.
what I'm creating in terms of fulfillment is really tailored to where their brains work and the things that they struggle with. So if we back this train up, when I created that first outline, one of the things we did first was like, what are all the problems that this particular woman faces?
Yep.
What are the solutions that I'm offering?
Yep.
And like, what are the actual results in a way that they would say it? That was what 6 pages of outline mostly was.
I want to pause you right there for a second. So many people, so for you all listening, for so many people, we're looking for the fancy funnel. We're looking for I hear this all the time. And it's like, wait, what's working right? Like, what's working right now? Like, what's the latest thing? My friends, it's exactly what Judith just said. So you just said, I'll sort of repeat this back to you. You just said, I listed out, brain dumped all the pain points and challenges that my people have. Then I was like, okay, this is how I can help people with those. This is how I can help cross that gap. And then it was like, okay, we get to message that to people. I asked and interviewed 5 previous or current clients that you work with and use their language as it pertains to these problems and challenges that you're going to solve. Everyone always wants to know, like, well, I don't know how to write copy. You're just using the words that that your people use.
And like, I I mean, oftentimes I have to remind myself, like, don't be clever or try to be super sexy. Like, what did she actually say to you? Because that's
Yeah.
really the only focus you should have.
Yep.
And one of the things we've talked about as I've been in Accelerator is like making things a plain name of what the damn thing is. Like, not a clever, cool name. Like, what is this actual thing you're selling?
Right. Yeah. And I do want to ask you that as we wrap up here. So you've been in Accelerator several months now. I don't think that you were happy with the progress for a while of where you were in the business. And we haven't talked about this. And I see this a lot, actually, where it just takes time to work through things. And then because of all that work, something blossoms. And boom, then it's off to the races. That's really what has happened here. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, because when I first came in, I think I had run a different challenge every month for a year.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, what are you doing?
I was creating content like a crazy lady.
Yeah.
And one of the things you challenged me on was like, we're going to run the same thing and we're going to learn how to like gather metrics and evaluate those metrics. And then we're going to have a different conversation in a few months once we have that in place. And I remember like there was a little like crestfallen feeling. So I was like, wait, what? I'm not creating more content. What is that? What?
What do I do with myself?
I don't create new things. What is happening? Right. And so like, that's my jam. Right. So I felt so like, ugh. But the beautiful thing is now we have a dashboard where we collect metrics.
Yeah. And you know what's working and what's not working.
I know what's working and not working. Right. And as I create this membership and I get to create new content every month because that's how we go roll. There's also a process that does not change running in the background. And one of the cool things, even this is brand new offer. When I spoke to my team, we all decided, okay, we need a workflow. Go create the workflow for this. By this date, this needs to be done. By this date, this needs to be done. Like, we're not flying by the seat of our pants. You impressed upon me early on in Accelerator the importance of fulfillment and the importance of processes and systems. We have that even for our new offer in its fledgling state.
Yeah, and you've already proven in literally 2 days that the fulfillment piece, which again I talk about all the time, is being the most important aspect of the business. Whether you have a membership, course, coaching program, whatever it might be, you do a good job. You continue to do a good job in your fulfillment. People are telling their friends. People are telling their colleagues, they're like, this is the greatest thing ever. You got to come in here. Like, that's the best kind of marketing.
Yeah. And I think you set a beautiful example. You just polled all of us an
Yeah.
accelerator to ask
Yeah.
us like what we wanted to see. And then you showed up and we're like, here are the changes we're implementing. We're going to test them, but we heard
Yeah.
you. And I'm thinking now too, like as I write my, inside nurture sequence, like what interval are we going to ask them? Is there something you'd like to change? What would you like to see? How are you doing? Because I see you model that so well. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah, that's how we're going to take care of our people.
Yeah. I love it. So it'll be really important to you as as you get going here to share this grand vision of all the amazing things that are coming in the membership.
Yeah.
I don't mean like, hey, in, February, this is coming. Just like getting people excited as you do of like what this big vision is and really continue to talk about that, because that's going to help like, holy cow, I'm in the right place. I'm home.
Yeah.
And people are going to stay.
Yeah, you're right. You're totally right. That'll be on our to-do list for this coming week.
Yes. Yes. So is it moderncharmschool.com if anybody wants to go join?
We don't have that official yet. We're just still operating from our normal website. So it's judithgaton.com/modern charm school opening, because I couldn't pick a longer URL, of course.
Wow, that is big. Let's repeat that again.
So y'all, it's a work in progress, right? So it's judithgaton.com/modern charm school opening. Or you just click the work with me button and find the modern charm school button. That might also be easier.
judithgaton.com/modern charm school opening.
Yes.
Yes. So for any of you listening right now who are interested in joining this amazing community, go to that link, get into Judith's world. You will not be disappointed. I'm so excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, I'm excited too. It's going to be amazing.
It's been so fun. And it's just starting.
Oh, we just started to cook. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. I love it. Well, thank you for coming back on here and being so open about what you've got going here with Modern Charm School. I'm so excited for you.
Yeah. No, thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks so much for listening today, my friend. Hey, if you would like to coach with me, if you want my eyes on your business to help you scale and grow your business, as well as your impact while working a whole lot less, right? What we're all about here in my business is working no more than 25 hours a week or less and having a successful business for you, whatever that means for you, right? And that's what I help people do in terms of sales and marketing, systems and processes, team, etc., helping you become the CEO of your business. Shoot me an email, rick@rickmulready.com, or you can go to my Accelerator coaching program page, which is rickmulready.com/accelerator. You can fill out a few questions there and apply to work with me. All right, my friend, thank you as always for tuning in today. Super appreciate you. Until next time, be well, and I'll talk to you soon.